Hello all and welcome back to another wonderful video. Today I'm here with whatever random background gameplay I have here because I want to talk about Generation 5 and Make Your Mark Chapter 2. I've recently finished watching, MLP Make Your Mark Chapter 2, and I feel like it's time to make my review of this chapter for My Little Pony. For this series, for this franchise. If you guys want to see me review each individual episode or share my thoughts on each episode, let me know if I should do a video on each of them or multiple of them together or something like that. But for now, I want to use this video to give my general review of the series so far. That being said, I think my thoughts can be summed up with simply just this: something is missing. I don't know what that something is, but the entire time I was watching the show, I had this weird feeling. It was like it was missing a hook, something to grab me in. In Generation 4, I always felt like there was some real genuine stakes. Things could go wrong was the feeling I kept in many of the episodes. The first episode I ever watched, in fact, revealed so much lore, information, and genuine stakes that I just had to keep watching. And when I actually did go back and watch the first episode, I was shocked. The very first episode was not the first episode I started with, for those that are confused here, but the very first episode also had a lot of lore and a lot of stakes, and it was just incredible. I loved it. I loved that they had those stakes. Someone could get hurt, they could lose, things could be destroyed and lost forever, ponies included. That could be the thing that feels like it's missing in Generation 5. In Chapter 2, that almost never happened. There was almost never a moment that felt like things would go really bad if the characters failed. And come to think of it, they never really did seem to fail in the first place. In Generation 4, there were entire episodes just about a character doing their best, giving their all, and still failing by just a little bit. It was weirdly inspiring because it taught the lesson that winning isn't always important, and even in failure, there is the win of that new knowledge and those new skills. Nothing for the main 5 has come out this way. Nothing has happened that way. They just haven't failed. So far, everything has just worked out for them. Maybe it's that lack of being able to fail that is missing in this series. Now, something else I noticed while watching was that there was this weird thing. There were some very obvious for kids moments. Moments that felt dumbed down, or whatever like that. It was usually the way a character talked, or it was some visual gag or something like that. But it felt like this series is more for kids than Generation 4 was. And Generation 4 was only accidentally something adults and young adults enjoyed. It was meant to be for kids. This show, however, when they went into making it, they wanted to live up to the expectations of Generation 4, live up to the lore and information in that generation, and bring it here and kind of make it for something for everyone. New audiences could enjoy, kids and the adults and people that were along for the ride so far. But that's just not the case here. It doesn't feel like that's the case here. It feels way more for kids than it ever has before in the history of the MLP Generation 4, Generation 5. Some of these episodes, they just felt so basic. Maybe it's because we've seen some of these stories so many times, not just from the MLP franchise or whatever like that, but from all kinds of shows. Like in one episode, Sunny and Hitch get their cutie marks swapped. They get their cutie marks swapped, which happened in Generation 4, funnily enough, and they did even better there. But my point is, they get their cutie marks swapped, so they spend the rest of the day with swapped roles. Hitch pretends to be Sunny, and Sunny pretends to be Hitch, because they kind of are, but not at the same time. It's really weird. But they didn't really explore that concept well at all. It wasn't explored very well, it wasn't done very well, and it's been done so many times by so many different shows, including My Little Pony itself, and it's always been done better than the way they did it here. It's just so weird. It almost didn't even feel like that's what the episode was supposed to be about. It just felt like it was just there. I don't know, it just felt so random even. For me, the story is only just barely good enough to keep me interested, and I think a huge part of that is because of my interest in Gen 4. This series is a continuation of Generation 4. We all know that. It's just set so far in the future that anything Generation 4 is mysterious and almost entirely gone. So as a fan of Generation 4, I'm interested in the lore and the story and whatever happened between the two shows. But if I had never been interested in Generation 4, I would be in a very, very meh mood about this show. It doesn't stand on its own legs very well, and the only thing that's really kind of going for it is the mystery of the villain, the alicorns, and the dragon. Maybe it's too many mysteries, or maybe the mysteries are just meh, or maybe there aren't enough mysteries. I don't know, but maybe they just also aren't explored enough. Now, for us who are familiar with Generation 4, we know a lot about dragons and alicorns already, but they seem to have changed them just enough to make them mysterious. And that's the thing. The mystery keeps me there, but it's only barely enough. The only other thing that keeps me watching is learning all of those new bits of lore for the universe. I mean, they confirmed in this series, in the very last episode, that alicorns are immortal.
The citizens of Equestria should fear and love their immortal rulers.
Alicorns are immortal. That's just been confirmed, essentially, here. That's something they never admitted in Generation 4. They had the whole gag of, like, oh, 1,000 years ago this happened, and then 1,000 years before that this happened, but they never confirmed that alicorns were immortal. They just basically implied that they could live a long time, and technically said that they were immortal without saying they're immortal because of the 1,000-year thing. But, that being said, they technically could have aged and died. It could just be something that they just lived for a super long time and whatever, but it's really nice to have actual confirmation that alicorns are immortal. But anyway, I can say that I enjoy the animation and art style way more than I thought I would have. It's still not as good as it could be, of course, obviously. I don't think anyone's arguing that that's the case, but I'm very relieved that it's just not so bad it's unwatchable. That being said, there are some points where the animation or whatever else just goes south for a short time and it looks just really bad. The lighting, everything. And this creates an unpolished feeling when watching, and maybe that's just maybe that's the thing that's missing. Maybe that's what feels like it's missing, that little polish there, that completion. I've already noticed a couple of animation errors in just my first watch through of the show. I can only imagine how many more there are that I missed. And yeah, there were some relatable moments from different characters, and I kind of like how they're doing them. Izzy, for example, feels like she's being used as some form of representation for foreigners, people that are not from the country that they're watching it in. We had a whole episode learning about unicorn culture, and I kept thinking that this was kind of their way of teaching younger generations that other cultures exist and that we should be friends with them, and that learning about these other cultures can be fun. I don't know if that was on purpose. I really don't. Maybe I was just super desperate to pull some kind of positive thing from this show that, I don't know, but it felt very obvious to me. Now, a similar thing happened in the Picture Day episode with Sunny being super interested in Pegasus culture. Now, of course, Sunny is just interested in that sort of thing in general, but again, it kind of felt like the show was trying to teach audiences to learn more about cultures and stuff, and I kind of like that. It's a nice little positive message there. Now, a lot of the episodes had a main plot and a subplot, which could be what feels missing. Generation 4 didn't do that. It had a singular plot, and it went through the entire episode with that singular plot and finished it. Maybe that missing feeling comes from how there is essentially a cliffhanger in every episode. Normally, I would love that kind of thing, but maybe because they already have the A plot and the B plot, and then this cliffhanger on top of it, creating a third subplot that is essentially a C plot, and that C plot is essentially being drip-fed to us. Maybe that's what it is. They fix the subplot more later on in the later episodes, like the two It's Missing episodes. And ironically, they weren't too bad and felt like Generation 4 episodes. But the first It's Missing episode did not feel very good at all. Unfortunately, we also had two It's Missing episodes back to back, which kind of felt pretty bad. There might have even been another one, and I'm just not thinking about it right now. Maybe I suppressed it, I don't know. But it just wasn't very good. It was so dumb. Someone as smart as Zip should have known that it was Misty, basically right away. She literally overheard her talking to Opal the night before.
I was hoping we were getting a top secret info that will take us to the next level, Opaline. Promise.
It's like that detail was just like erased the very next episode, which is fucking stupid as shit. I mean, assuming she gave Misty the benefit of the doubt, or somehow forgot about that, or thought it was a dream, or some other thing like that, at the end of the episode, Zip still should have questioned how the lantern ended up in the garden for Pip to find. There's just too much wrong for that episode. Just way too much wrong for that episode for me to like it. Especially the fact that Zip just forgets that she overheard Misty. Like, what the fuck? Like, seriously. And Misty herself just buries the lantern instead of going straight to Opal with it? Like, what? What sense does that make? She never even gave a good reason for it. She just straight up says that it was stupid herself. Like, they admit that this was stupid in the episode. Like, what? Why did she do it? It's just so stupid. But enough negatives. My favorite episode for Chapter 2 had to have been the Ali Kond episode, just because of how it made me feel. I felt so bad for Sunny and even kind of related to her struggle a little bit. I especially love how the mirror came back with a stronger purpose rather than just spying on them and stuff.
Listen to you, how small you felt.
Yes, I do. No! Come back! Come back! I don't need to be an alicorn for ponies to like me. Right? Right?
So that's pretty great. Now, as for the villains of the series, Opal and Misty, I find them both kind of dim-witted. Misty more so than Opal, but also Opal is kind of stupid too. Like, she rarely came up with her own plan, and she even stole some of Misty's, which is a classic villain type thing to do, but it's just weird because Misty is meant to be the one who is dim-witted. But Misty, just overall, is like the best character in this show. Hands down, the awkwardness, their lack of confidence, their anxiety, their shyness, etc. It's so relatable, it's lovable. I love the character even more after understanding that they know almost nothing about the world. Almost nothing about the world because of Opal. She's kept her hidden, secluded her whole life. Of course, she would not only be awkward because of that, but also kind of dim-witted about how things work or what to do. Not to mention the stress of failing. I kind of want to do a whole video about just Misty and talking about her and things like that. But for now, I'll just say I have a few ideas about what they could do with her. One being that Opal had stolen her from some sort of known relative of Twilight Sparkle or something like that, counting it as part of her revenge. Another cool thing they could do with this character is some sort of chosen one type thing where at the end she fights against Opal and she gets her cutie mark for it and she's revealed to be some kind of sixth element of harmony or something like that. I think that could just be incredible. I mean, just stuff like that. Now, Misty tangent aside, there are an excellent character, and another reason I am watching the show is just to see them, just to watch them and see what they do. They're slowly starting to even feel like the main character in some ways. She's winning, she's failing, she's growing. We are seeing a character arc that we aren't really seeing in the rest of the main five. I mean, it's the same reason I and many others loved Trixie and Starlight. There was some kind of character arc there. Maybe that's what's missing. But I don't know. To sum up everything, something does feel like it's missing. It's like Generation 4, but also worse, but also better at the same time somehow. Like, I don't even know how that's possible. I guess it just does some things better than Generation 4 did, and some things way, way worse than Generation 4. It's very bizarre, but I'm going to keep watching it. Those are only the first 8 episodes of the series. There's going to be more to come later in the future, and I can't wait to see those and review those and talk about more things that are just weird about this, maybe even share some theories and things like that. If you guys are interested in that, or Ponytown, or anything like that, let me know in the comments below what you guys believe and think about Generation 5 so far. And consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and doing all of those wonderful things like that. Because when you do wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become one of yourself. And I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.